When Vitalik was there, you turn on the TV in Argentina, every news show was talking about this guy. He's simply an amazing human being. He's a monk that travels around the world with his backpack, speaking the word, preaching the truth.
Hey Bankless Nation, we're making a special episode out of the conversation I had with Santi Siri on the Layer Zero podcast. Santi spoke a lot about Vitalik's recent trip to Argentina and just had some interesting perspectives as to how Argentine society engaged with Vitalik. Who is Vitalik in relationship to the whole entire country of Argentina, or at least what Santi saw from his perspective. For those who are unfamiliar with Layer Zeros, it's my Joe Rogan style podcast, which is completely free-flowing and unscripted and just having cultural conversations rather than protocol conversations is how I like to describe it. And we unpack just how crypto is unfolding in society and unfolding on people's psyches rather than just, on their ledgers and on their Web3 apps. And Santi was a fantastic guest who really was able to dive deep into the culture of Argentina and how optimistic that he has become as a result of how Argentina has engaged with crypto. And this particular show is really just a compilation of the components of that longer episode where Santi speaks about Vitalik's trip to Argentina. So let's go into this compilation episode of Layer Zero right after we get to some of these fantastic sponsors that make this show possible. Polygon is Ethereum's largest and most vibrant scaling solution to date. With millions of monthly users and all of the biggest DeFi apps, the Polygon ecosystem has turned into a blossoming metropolis of DeFi activity. Transactions on Polygon are quick and cheap, allowing users the freedom to achieve their DeFi goals, all while being economically anchored to Ethereum. But Polygon isn't just the proof-of-stake sidechain. The Polygon team is building a suite of scaling solutions, including Polygon Hermes, Maiden, Nightfall, and Zero, all with different design choices in order to be optimized for all possible crypto use cases. If you're a developer who wants to build on the Polygon ecosystem, go to the link in the show notes to check out their fantastic documentation. And if you're a user who just wants to experience fast and cheap DeFi, you can bridge over your ETH or other tokens and start playing around with any of the thousands of applications that are available on Polygon. The Layer 2 era is upon us. Ethereum's Layer 2 ecosystem is growing every day, and we need L2 bridges to be fast and efficient in order to live a Layer 2 life. Across is the fastest and cheapest and most secure cross-chain bridge. With Across, you don't have to worry about the long wait times or high fees to get your assets back to the Layer 1. Assets are bridged and available for use almost instantaneously. Across's bridges are powered by UMA's optimistic oracle to securely transfer tokens from Layer 2 back to Ethereum. Across is critical ecosystem infrastructure, and ownership is being handed over to the community. You can be a part of this story of Across by joining the Discord and becoming a co-founder and helping to design the fair launch of Across. If you want to bridge your assets quickly and securely, go to across.to to bridge your assets between ETH, Optimism, Arbitrum, or Boba networks. Bankless is proud to be sponsored by Uniswap. Uniswap is a new paradigm in asset exchange infrastructure. Instead of a cumbersome order book system where trades are matched with other humans, Uniswap is an autonomous piece of software on Ethereum that lets you trade any token at the current market price. No human counterparties or centralized intermediaries, just autonomous code on Ethereum. Input the token you want to sell and receive the token you want to buy. The Uniswap Grants program is accepting applications for grants. Do you have something of value that you think you want to contribute to the Uniswap ecosystem? No matter how big or small your idea is, you can apply for a unique grant at uniswapgrant.org and help steer Uniswap in the direction that you think it should go. Thank you, Uniswap, for sponsoring Bankless.
If you walk through the streets of Buenos Aires, and actually we did this with Vitalik, there are some huge slums in the middle of the most wealthy neighborhoods in the city. So you have this huge inequality in the country. And with Vitalik, we actually visited one of these slums so he could get a close view of how a lot of people live in a country like Argentina, not just the tourist version of the country. And you see this inequality all over the place. There's more than 5,000 slums where people do not have access to basic goods, to basic water, to basic needs. They might have, the youth smartphones and an internet connection, so the people are connected, but infrastructure is simply not there. And sadly, I guess many populist politicians, their only solution or the only remedy to address a situation like that is let's just put money in their pockets, regardless of taking any consideration of how that money is created. They just print it, and that populist formula, works for a little while, and then in the long run generates this situation of the country losing value significantly, and it's simply a very tragic consequence because it perpetuates the position people are living in, the lack of infrastructure, the lack of investment. It perpetuates the inequality, and it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. So because the inequality keeps growing, politicians keep printing, and the more they print, the more the status quo remains it's the same. And there's simply, it seems to me that at least from the generations above me, that governed the country in the past, they are simply not able to think outside the box. The discussion in Argentina has always been, shall we agree with the IMF and get some US dollars to strengthen our currency, but get a huge debt, and the debt keeps growing with the IMF? Or we give our back to the IMF and suddenly we become a pro-Venezuela, pro-Cuba country, disconnected from the financial world, and we try to do the revolution, quote unquote. And none of these approaches are really addressing people's problems, addressing the situation from a structural or from a systemic point of view. It's just opportunist populist politicians taking advantage and misusing public resources, regardless of the ideological sign of who is in charge. And I think that today there's a generational change, at least the crypto generation or the online generation. Let's not call them millennials. We have the online generation, the offline generation. The online generation is growing up. I'm probably one of the oldest members of that generation, but there's a lot of kids from between 20 and 30 years old that are now suddenly thinking in a much different way about money, about value, about connected to the world, looking, realizing that Argentina is not a special case in the planet, that we can certainly think globally and connect with the world at large. And there's a new generation that I hope starts thinking about these issues in a different way. I see it in the development front. The developer community, the hackers, the software developers are certainly innovating in a way that has no precedent in the country. For the first time, there are projects being born in Argentina that are global, that are not looking at Latin America as a market, but are actually thinking in global terms. There's a generation of engineers that have created some of the most successful companies built around Ethereum, thinking about crypto and technology as a way of addressing some of the challenges that society is facing. And I recently visited Argentina just a few weeks ago for Vitalik's trip there, and I haven't been there since before the pandemic. And it was kind of like suddenly getting into the Back to the Future's car and actually traveling to the year 2034, because it really felt very futuristic. Everyone under 30 years old recognized Vitalik in the streets. They knew who he was. They knew about Ethereum. They asked him about Ethereum 2.0 or when is the merge going to happen. Like random people in the streets. Most of them obviously probably under 30 years old. But it's like in the pandemic, a lot of people suddenly accelerated their learning skills about crypto or got into crypto. In Argentina, we have high inflation, capital controls. It's illegal to buy US dollars, even though there's a dark or a black market of it. And we have subsidized energy. So everyone and their mothers are mining crypto. They're having miners at home. Like it's almost insane. You see like in the restaurant where we were with Vitalik, the waiter came to ask him for a picture. Like the taxi driver asked him things about crypto. Everyone, suddenly Vitalik discovered that he has Mick Jagger status in Argentina. And I think that the pandemic accelerated people learning about this technology. The bull market also benefited a lot of people. And suddenly there's like, I perceive for the first time a new generation in Argentina that it's really connected to this stuff in a way that is way more significant than what I see here in Spain, where I live. In Spain, it's it's the euro comfort zone. The state, the welfare state works fantastic. People live a very secure life. Everyone is in a comfort level that they are not no one is taking any risks in Europe, in Spain. Like there's very few entrepreneurs, very few crypto minds. Whereas in Argentina, it's like everywhere. You see it in the billboards in the streets. There's the most important streets are filled with advertisement about crypto startups and crypto companies. And I feel like the country's like making a leapfrog after the pandemic in adoption, not only at the developer level, which is what I knew, but what caught me by surprise is that at the user level, we're seeing this kind of popular adoption of Ethereum and Bitcoin and all of this new tech. And to me, that speaks greatly about what crypto is achieving, because from a geopolitical standpoint, Argentina is, at the end of the world. It's a forgotten country, third world nation, struggling through financial crisis to financial crisis. And in the last 7 years, I've been pretty much in over 30 countries, following the Ethereum crowd, following, this revolution around the world. And the fact that Argentina is suddenly growing in adoption so aggressively speaks greatly of crypto, speaks greatly of this technology, because it means that the technology is impacting the most where it's really needed the most. In Argentina, it's not a theoretical quirk to learn about crypto or an investment opportunity. It's, for a lot of people, a necessity. They need it. They can't buy dollars. They are filled with pesos that are worthless. They need this thing. And to me, that gives me a lot of hope about the future of the country. The past of the country is a disaster, like I've told you. But it's still a great country with great people. And I think that this new generation, or what crypto is doing there, is a very fertile ground for this technology. And some years ago, it was still a thing of us, the nerds, But today, it's on mainstream media. When Vitalik was there, you turn on the TV in Argentina, every news show was talking about this guy. And that was a revelation. Probably to Vitalik, discovering that he'll probably be facing this more and more in the future anywhere he goes. So dealing with his celebrity status will be a challenge for him, but I think he will do fantastic, because he's simply an amazing human being. He's a monk that travels around the world with his backpack, speaking the word, preaching the truth. But for Argentina, it was a big epiphany for society. Like suddenly everyone was like, hey, you're into crypto? I'm into crypto also, like everyone. And I'm a public figure there in the crypto scene and whatnot. And I realized that, like the amount of messages and DMs and emails and phone calls that I got since that trip is beyond my traditional level of information diet. And it gives me the signal that there's something very serious brewing up there, and it's coming from the youth, bottom up. It's not like the El Salvador case where El Salvador got lucky enough to have a millennial president, and this guy, sadly, he's kind of a maximalist, but he's pushing Bitcoin through everyone's throats, top down. In Argentina, it's bottom up adoption. And with Vitalik, we have been able to meet with an ex-president, with a potential future president, with the government, with a left-wing activist. We met with a whole spectrum of leaders that the country has. Everyone left aside their differences. That's the power that Vitalik had. I don't think many people in the world can unite Argentines like Vitalik did. And it's because everyone is realizing that there's this thing happening with the new generations that is very wild, and that gives me hope,
So you've got some money, but how are you going to use it?
You, me, shopping now, bro.
You want to spend when you know you should be saving.
Never buy a house at this rate.
But what if you could spend and save at the same time? For the enlightened kind with inquiring minds, a new world awaits. Set yourself free with completely flexible, self-repaying loan technology. Supported on desktop and mobile, seize the power of ALCHEMIX, allowing you to spend and save at the same time. Leverage your wealth without the risk of liquidation. Take out a loan that repays itself. By using yield from your deposit to pay off your balance, your only debt is time. What was once inconceivable is now within your
Are
grasp.
you winning some?
If you're going bankless, you need MetaMask. This is your tool to unlock the world of DeFi without giving up custody over your private keys. MetaMask is both a secure in-browser wallet and also a secure bridge for your hardware wallet. You can now trade tokens on any DEX or aggregator. MetaMask Swap gathers real-time pricing information across all the DeFi exchanges, allowing you to select your best price while getting all the MetaMask benefits of self-custody, lower gas costs, and increased transaction success rates. MetaMask also has a fantastic mobile wallet that I use when I'm out and about, which I use to collect POAPs, NFTs, and do all my DeFi things while I'm away from home. If you haven't downloaded MetaMask, you gotta try it out. Web3 wouldn't be the same without it. Download MetaMask for desktop and mobile at metamask.io and load up your Trezor, Ledger, Lattice, or Keystone hardware wallets so that they too can get into the world of Web3. Living a bankless life requires taking control of your own private keys. Not your keys, not your crypto. That's why so many in the Bankless Nation already have their Ledger hardware wallet. But the Ledger ecosystem is much more than just a secure hardware wallet. Ledger is the combination of the Ledger hardware wallet, the Ledger Live app, and soon the CL Crypto Life card powered by Ledger. The CL card powered by Ledger is a crypto debit card with powerful features like an instant exchange to fiat, where crypto assets are only sold at the moment that you swipe your card, and also credit from crypto collateral, where you can collateralize your crypto assets in order to get a higher credit limit. You'll be able to manage your CL card powered by Ledger inside the Ledger Live app, right next to all the DeFi apps and services that you're already used to using, making the Ledger Live app your one-stop shop for all of your financial needs. Go to ledger.com, grab a Ledger, and download Ledger Live to get all of your DeFi applications all in one place.
The youth of today is the crypto youth. That's the thing that I find so exciting. When we did the Vitalik conference in Buenos Aires, this is a nice story. Like, Vitalik arrived on Saturday. On Saturday, he met President Macri, an ex-president of the country. Half of the country probably loves him, half of the country probably hates him. But he's an ex-president, so it was a good way of sending a signal to the country that, hey, this guy Vitalik, who might as well be the Einstein of the 21st century, is in our country. And that was a great thing that we were able to give this signal to the country so the country learns about Ethereum, and so Ethereum can discover how passionate Argentina is about this technology. When Vitalik realizes that he might be having somewhat of a Mick Jagger status in Argentina, he tells me, "I'd like to do a conference. So this is not like an exclusive trip just for me, because I'm realizing how much people are talking about my visit here. So let's do a conference." I talked with the government of Buenos Aires. We found a beautiful place for 1,000 people to make this conference. And we make the flyer, we announce the conference, and in 3 minutes, the conference sold out. Completely sold out. 1,000 people. 1,000 people. We announced this on a Sunday. On Tuesday, we did the conference. The mayor of the city came. He had a private meeting with Vitalik. This is a guy that maybe could be the next president of the country. And all of the 1,000 people that got their ticket, they were there. Packed room. Everyone wanted to be there. People complaining on Twitter that they couldn't get tickets. And Vitalik gave one of his fantastic keynotes. We did an interview on stage to him. He's such an easy person to interview because you ask him one thing and he will always give you at least 3 paragraphs describing his line of thought. And the people there, these 1,000 young people that came to see him live, they were all probably between 17, 18 to 28, 29, like very, very young. And they were fascinated by what's going on. Like I I remember going outside to say hi to some friends, and suddenly I find myself giving a sub-conference inside the conference. Like a crowd builds around me, and as people start asking me questions, and everyone was so thankful, was so happy, was so in disbelief that Vitalik came to Argentina. They couldn't believe it. Like he was, people were so appreciative of that. When we went to the slum, we went to a school that was actually founded by Pope Francis. And in this school, some students came. And again, this 16, 17 years old. And one student came with questions written, handwritten in a paper. And the questions were about Vitalik's career. He asked him, well, when did you started? How did you started writing for Bitcoin magazine? Like this guy that grew up in a slum, that grew up, in a disenfranchised section of the city, with definitely with much less possibilities than 90% of the people living in Buenos Aires. He knew everything about Vitalik. He knew, he was into Ethereum. He was already learning to mine cryptocurrency, and that to me speaks so greatly about the inclusive capacities of crypto, and the youth is like gets it like this. I feel this fractal sensation in my own. Whenever I go to DEFCON or whenever I go to an ETH event, I know I'm being respected for being the old guy around. I'm 38. It's the 20-year-olds that are explaining me roll-ups or are explaining me, whatever is the next thing. It's always the youth that teach you about what's up and coming with technology. And it's so important to pay attention to the youth. And in Argentina, thankfully, I think that the crypto virus is very, very strong right now. And a lot of these kids will grow up, they will start up things, they will create stuff that will surprise us. So I think that this legitimate youth, and not the youth from the 70s, is what needs to happen for the country to change. Will that lead to a more individualistic society or a more free market-loving society? Maybe it's a bit of an antidote to a lot of the socialist leanings that you will also find in Argentina, but which is also a consequence of the rampant inequality. The inequality is in your face there. If you walk in Buenos Aires, you will find an entire family, going through the dustbin or through the trash, and it's such a sad image, and it's an image that is everywhere. So I guess it's not that we're left wing or right wing. We're a bit of dreaming of an utopia or some kind of powerful idea that can really change things for us. And my sensation is that we will, if that idea exists somewhere, it's definitely in the realm of information technology and digital stuff. Like it's not in the realm of legacy, ideological, economic schools, but really, the hackers. It's the Cypherpunk Manifesto, is the Declaration of Independence of Cyberspace. That's the literature. It's the sovereign individual. It's the infinite machine. It's that's the literature that I think is really bringing new ideas. And it's in information technology. It's with bits. That the only thing that I've seen throughout my entire life that has really impacted people's lives for the better. And I think that the youth gets this, and this is I have no choice but to be an optimist. Also, as an entrepreneur, you have to be an optimist. But what I've seen in Buenos Aires recently caught me by surprise in a significant way, and it made me feel very proud. It was the proudest moment of my career to have my hero, Vitalik Buterin, our hero, Vitalik Buterin, visiting my country for the first time. And for him to realize that my country loves him, and for my country to realize that this is for real and it's so powerful that the entire political spectrum has to meet with him, it's like I have never felt any pride. I don't know if I will ever be able to surpass an experience like that. But it speaks greatly about what's going on there and the potential it has to change things.
I think perhaps one of the best reasons to be happy about that is that because Vitalik is very morally grounded. He's a realist, but he's also an optimist at the same time, and he definitely sees the potential of technology for good. But he'll never go out and like say something ridiculous or crazy just to like drum up a crowd. He's always very pragmatic and effective. And the fact that like so much of Argentina is seeing Vitalik's pragmatism and then falling in line behind that, rather than some sort of populist leader that's drumming up a crowd, or some sort of like Trumpian figure who knows how to like play the media. Vitalik's the opposite of that. And people are falling behind him as well. That gets me really, really optimistic, because we need that in today's world. There's a lot of ways to drum up society to get them to do the things that you want, and Vitalik's not doing that at all. And people still like resonate with his message and fall in line behind his leadership.
That's why he's like a monk.
Yeah, right.
In Argentina, I caught the attention that he always went everywhere with wearing sandals and socks. And he went to meet the president like that. He went to meet the minister of economy like that. It's like that's the most cypherpunk thing I can think of. Like, he's not he's so grounded. He's so, if money shows the real face of who you are, the real face of Vitalik is amazing, because he had all kinds of offers in Argentina. You can imagine that when people found out he was there, I got invitations for him to go on a private jet to the Patagonia, or to go to Punta del Este in a helicopter to meet, this powerful guy, or to go, he got all kinds of fancy invitations. And he got, the opportunity to visit a slum and to meet, how the working class in Argentina really lives. And he chose to go to the slum. He chose to go to the school there, to talk to the people there. The people were, obviously fascinated by this guy that looks completely different than anyone else in Argentina. Like Vitalik, as a Russian, he obviously caught some people's attention. But you saw just little kids approaching him and asking, "Where do you come from and what do you do?" And him very politely, in Spanish actually, we were all surprised that he actually speaks very good Spanish, explaining who he was and what he does, asking questions about how people live there, how families live there, thinking about learning about these social challenges or these social dramas that people are facing. And he wanted to see that. He didn't want none of the fancy programs. I remember every day I sent Vitalik a couple of options. You have this, and that. What do you want to do? And he chose where his heart it really is. And I think he actually said something in the first meeting we had with President Macri, when he said that one of the problems with technology is that it's probably easier to generate innovation in the information spectrum than in the physical world, because it's easier to iterate and change things with digital bits and information than to iterate and change things in the physical world. So a lot of investment and a lot of innovation is software only, and it's software to make better software. And he said that this leads to a situation where you create a society where you have these incredible billionaires creating a lot of wealth, but at the same time, you have a lot of junkies, and homeless people who are, shooting heroin in the streets, and the wealth side is completely blinded by what's happening on this social side, where a lot of people are getting left behind and living, through a tragedy in the very same city where this happens. And he used San Francisco as an example. I lived in San Francisco, and I saw that. You walk through the Tenderloin, you will see it. And it's for him. He said, it's very important to support projects that are being built on Ethereum that make sure that they impact in reality, that have an impact in the real world, and not just I guess that's why he's kind of been talking more about DeFi is fun, DeFi is great, but let's try to think about the social Ethereum, how Ethereum can help society at large. And I guess that's why he got interested into proof of humanity and UBI. And I think that this is a very positive aspect of his leadership, that he cares and he's paying attention to stuff like this, to these social aspects. It's a wonderful thing. It's very uncommon. He's the strangest billionaire I have ever met, for sure. Today, Buenos Aires does feel a little bit like a cypherpunk utopia, like high inflation, terrible government, but the youth clandestinely, using crypto for absolutely everything. Like, another small story of Vitalik's visit. Like, there was one morning that Vitalik went to a coffee shop at 9:30 a.m. and the coffee shop opened at 10 a.m. So Vitalik was like, okay, it's closed, let's find a different place. And from the inside, the owner comes out running and says, Vitalik, don't leave, please. I will open the shop for you. Come, stay. And Vitalik mentioned me that he was even able to pay with Ether for his coffee and his croissant or whatever he had. And it's like those things are showing me that, wow, this is the owner of a bar, a random bar in the neighborhood of Palermo that suddenly, got starstruck when he saw Vitalik open the shop for him. He was already able to receive Ether for the coffee. It's not like it's a strange thing. A lot of shops are accepting Tether or some kind of stable coin. A lot of shops, asking the question, "Can I pay with crypto?" is no longer like, "Oh, here comes the nerd asking about crypto." No, it used to be like that. When I did it 7-8 years ago, I remember, "Hey, can I pay you with some Bitcoin?" I remember doing that in some places and teaching people. But now it's like, yeah, sure, pay with Ether or with Bitcoin or whatever. Mm-hmm. And that thing becoming commonplace is a very, very positive thing.
Hey, we hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, head over to Bankless HQ right now to develop your crypto investing skills and learn how to free yourself from banks and gain your financial independence. We recommend joining our daily newsletter, podcast, and community as a Bankless Premium subscriber to get the most out of your Bankless experience. You'll get access to our market analysis, our alpha leaks, and exclusive content, and even the Bankless token for airdrops, raffles, and unlocks. If you're interested in crypto, the Bankless community is where you want to be. Click the link in the description to become a Bankless Premium subscriber today. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for in-depth interviews with industry leaders, Ask Me Anythings, and weekly roll-ups where we summarize the week in crypto and other fantastic content. Thanks everyone for watching and being on the journey as we build out the Bankless Nation.